make comments during the session. But at the end of it, you can unmute your mic and ask questions or, make comments. So, right? So last week we were getting into what Christian courting should actually look like. And the first thing that I touched on, so I'll just start with number one, but I won't go into it in detail because I think we just got through one, right? If I'm not mistaken, was that if you are going into a courtship, you are going to be courting someone, you have to be at a place where you are ready to get married. And by ready to get married, I don't mean you have everything together. You already have a house, you have a car, whatever. It means you should be of age. And so what a 13, 14, 15-year-old would be disqualified, 16, 17. Excuse me, I could go on. You should be of age because courting, it's not just a casual thing. And then I spoke a lot about working on yourself, on developing you, on actually becoming what we would call, not that I like to use that term like wife material, however that looks, right? But you're preparing yourself. If you have a desire to be married, you have a desire to be a wife. Okay, I'm being practical, right? If you have this burning desire in your heart to be a vet, right? You're doing something right now. Let's say you are a pharmacist right now, and you're in that field but you have this desire to be a vet, and it's always there. And I want to be a vet so bad one day. The obvious thing to do would be to start preparing yourself to become a vet. Start educating yourself. Start finding ways that you could perhaps do a degree or whatever the case may be. But if it's a real desire and you actually want to fulfill that desire one day, you are going to take steps towards it, right? And so most women want to be wives at some point in their lives. They want to be wives. And all I'm saying is in that period of your life where you are single, you should be preparing yourself to be not only a wife, but also to find out who you really are, to find out what is really my purpose, who am I, to become a whole person and a whole person in Christ as a believer, right? Because everything I'm sharing tonight, especially for the new ladies, there's a natural aspect to it. Everybody can follow this and be successful in their relationship, but I'm gearing it towards people who are focused on a relationship with God, who are Christians, who would like to do things in a godly manner, right? That's what we're kind of focusing on, right? So you're working on you first. You're supposed to be ready. That's number one. So it really eliminates younger people and people who are at certain stages in their life. They know they're not ready. So if you know you're not ready for marriage anytime soon, basically, you shouldn't be seeing anybody. You shouldn't be tying up anybody's head, right? Stay by yourself and sort things out, right? That was number one. Right, so we get it into today now, which is number two. Marriage is the goal of courtship, right? And as I just said, if you do not have a desire to be married anytime soon, or some people at a stage where they don't even, they're like, marriage, I don't know if that's for me. Now, I don't know if anybody on the call, if you are on this call and you don't want to get married at any time, you are Christian, you don't want to get married, you don't feel like marriage is for you. I've met a couple people like that, very few, but I have. Or you thinking, let's say you in your early 20s and your thinking is, I feel I will settle down like in my 30s, like in my late 30s, that's when I would start to really settle down. I know men tend to think more like that, right? Women can't afford to think that way because they have a biological clock that the time is ticking. And so when it comes to childbearing, age is a factor. Men could say, I could wait until my late 30s, right? But if that's your thinking, basically, you should not bother to court. You should not even bother to date, because what you'll be doing is tying up somebody's head. Because what's the point in getting into a relationship with someone at 22 and your intention is to not get married until you're 30 or 35 or whatever, or not to get married at all? What would be the point of getting into a relationship if marriage is not the goal? I don't know. You tell me, to just hold hands forever, talk on WhatsApp forever, say goodbye to each other every night for the rest of your life. What would be the purpose of dating of seeing anybody romantically, right? Think with me, right? So if you are courting someone, the intention is supposed to be marriage, and that is supposed to be stated. That goal should be made clear. So if you are in a relationship with someone as a believer and you are working towards marriage is the intention. You both agreed that you could see each other as a spouse one day. That should be stated. It should be made clear. It should be the goal, not gold. That should be the goal of your relationship, right? It's not supposed to be a secret. Ladies, let me plug put a plug in here, right? Don't allow yourselves to get sucked into a relationship year after year after year with no label. Nobody knows what it is. It's exclusive or it's semi-exclusive. Like, or we exclusive sometimes, but then we're not exclusive, right? Everybody know we together, but I could still ride out, or he could still ride out. And don't, it's called a situationship. I think we touched on it last week, but don't allow yourself to get sucked into that type of relationship. Do not, right? So you're courting, everybody knows, you know, he know. The plan is to one day hopefully get married to you and vice versa, right? This is important. The period just before this. So just before, let's say you have been friends with this person, it has not been a romantic relationship at all. You all have just been pretty close, getting to know each other, talking, realizing, okay, you know what? Out of all the fellas in church, I think I really like him. You know, we have a lot in common. He has a lot of things that I'm looking for in a spouse. I feel like we have the same goals, different, and you realize both of you all feel the same way, and it's getting more serious, right? Let me tell you all what's supposed to happen in that period. Listen to me carefully. That period is supposed to be a very prayerful one before you even take that step of courting, right? Jesus tells us in the Bible that if we need wisdom, that is something we could ask for. He said he will never hold back wisdom from us, and he will give it liberally, freely. It's not something that is it's scarce, right? He said, ask and I will tell you. You want wisdom in any area of your life, I will tell you, right? So this is an area, if you are at that stage where you're going into this serious courting now, you need to approach it prayerfully. You need to pray and ask God for his wisdom at this point, because you're going into taking a step now where you are exclusively giving yourself to this person and saying, I am actually sort of making a commitment here to get to know you. So I am making a commitment to get to know you and you only, right, in this courting period, because my goal is that hopefully we can get married one day. And so that is not a decision that you want to take lightly. And so before you even say yes to his question, will you be my girlfriend? All right. Or can we, I don't know how you say it. I don't know what do you say? Or tell me. I know I hear the young people saying, right, they're linking. I hear them saying so-and-so linking. Yeah, them linking. I know linking is not serious. Linking mean this week, them close. This week, she riding in the front seat, or he riding wherever. This week, they're linking, or last for a month or whatever, and then next month you hear the linking with somebody else or whatever the case may be, right? But I am talking about, I am going to make a commitment to this person. You need to make God a part of this and ask for his wisdom at this point, right? Here, what you also need to do, ladies, listen to me, right? This is the time now. This is pre-courting, just before you make that decision, right? Or you're close already. You don't have an idea of where it's going, right? But you don't want to commit, because this is really making a big step here, right? And you don't want to do that, make that decision loosely. So you want to ask God for his wisdom, and hear what happens when we ask God for wisdom, right? One of the things that when you ask God for wisdom and guidance in this area, hear what happens most of the times. You start seeing red flags clearer. And this is a time where you have to pay attention to red flags that you notice. This is a time where you have an opportunity to sit, you and the Holy Spirit, and think about things that came up in your friendship or your conversations with this person that could have been red flags. And I'm saying, guys, Nobody gets married without one or two little red flags, eh? But we know, I always say there are some big ones that you just cannot ignore. So I'm not talking about the person that's be perfect, but you're saying that God, okay, I noticed this, I noticed that, I noticed the other, whatever the case may be. You're putting it before God and you're saying, Lord, give me some wisdom here, right? How to deal with this. It's not that you're saying you can't be with the person because of these things, right? So you're praying and you're asking God for wisdom. Let me tell you all, ladies, how that wisdom is going to be manifested. Because I think people get tripped up here. When they ask God for guidance, when they pray and say, Lord, well, I don't know if this is how all your prayers go. Is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one? I don't know. I don't know if it's go like that, right? But if that way you're praying, don't pray that. Don't pray that, right? You're already tied up with the person. So let me tell you something, plain. Your head is tied up already. And so if you are at the stage where you're asking God if this is the one and you're looking for signs, you will get signs. Everything will be a sign. A sign could be for you that you're walking down the road. Actually, what I'm telling you here is a fact. I'm not making this up, ladies. Somebody told me once that they prayed and they asked God for a sign and they walked down the road the next day and they saw the person's name on a billboard. And that was a sign for them, right? You all hear me? Did you all hear what I just said? They said they prayed, today's Tuesday, no, today's Monday. They prayed Monday and they asked God for a sign. And then, yes, that's what the person told me, that God gave them a literal sign. And also it was a sign because they saw the person's name, right? Those are not signs, right? Numbers are not signs. I saw 7 3 times. Oh, we're going to write 7. Okay, you know what? He gave me 7 roses. He called me 7 times. And he's, right? That's not how God going to show you, give you wisdom, ladies. Those aren't signs. They are very practical things, right? That's just being delusional, yes, right? What God shows you are practical things about the person. Here, what happens a lot when you ask, no, she was in a different area. The sign was there all the time, but she went to an area. It was an area that she was not accustomed going to, and there was a sign with the person's name on it, right? Yes. Right. So what you're doing is looking out for red flags when you pray. When you ask God to show you, he shows you. But here how he shows you. He shows you by showing you the red flags. If this is really not meant for you, you're going to start to see signs. Things are going to start popping up. Now, I am not, this is me, ladies, this is me personally, right? Everybody have their opinion and stuff, right? I am not a believer in saying that God gave you a dream. Let's say God gave you a dream about someone, or you say God gave you a word or whatever the case about someone. And you are sure, well, you had a dream, you're lying, you had a dream, whatever the case may be. But in real life now, practically speaking, your relationship with the person is not going as it should. The person has red flags, but you going on this dream, God will not operate like that. The thing that God is showing you is not the dream, is what is in your face, is what you're dealing with every day. It's the toxic behavior, it's the anger, it's the lying, it's the cheating. Those are the signs that God is going to give you when you pray. Or he might start moving differently, start getting interest elsewhere. It's not the dreams. All you forget it from me, please. It's not the dreams. It's not the word from somebody. It's not the signs on the billboard. It's going to be practical things that God will show you. I believe that more often than not, God will give you a dream more often, that showing you that it is not the one for you. Very rarely do people get dreams about the person that they think is their spouse and it's accurate. And you want to know why that is, ladies? You are already so invested and so in love, and you are so mesmerized, and you are tied to this person already. Your desires override God and his voice. And so anything that happens, your dreams could come from your desire. Somebody could give you a word and you could hear, you could perceive it differently, all kinds of things, because this is what you want with all your heart. What I've seen to be more true is people getting dreams where God is showing them that this is not the one and giving them warning signs. Very often, those are the dreams that are relevant and God trying to save you, right? Now, let me just clarify with the dreams. I'm not saying God cannot give you a dream. Hear what I'm saying. You cannot use the dream in isolation to make your decision. So the person is no good for you. They cheat on you already. They're supposed to be a Christian. They cheat on you, or you had sex. They get mad, or you're always quarreling, or whatever the case may be. And you want a sign, and you get a dream, and God tell you in the dream, go ahead. That's not God. I said it. That's not God. You did not get that dream from God. That dream came up from here and it went up here and went up here when you're sleeping, and that dream either came from your heart or it came from Satan. It did not come from God. Okay, ladies? So I'm just clearing that up. However, if you are in a relationship that is healthy, it is beautiful, it is blossoming, this person is helping you to grow closer to God. Yes, it's not perfect, but you feel like this is, you just feel a peace about it. Your life is better with this person in it, so on. And you get a dream as confirmation, right? Or let's say you meet somebody and they give you yes, people could give you a word, right? So if there's peace that goes along with your dream and the fruit of a healthy relationship, and you get a dream, you could say, wow, God, you're just confirming that this is the one for me. But I'm saying, do not take a dream or a word. The word could come from, who's a real popular preacher? Who's like a big, big preacher? I don't even know. Do they have those anymore? Like big preachers that people look up to? People still look up to men. Good. Right. The word could come from Kerwin, telling you, thus say the Lord. Right? Kerwin is accurate a lot. But you catching your tail with this man and you holding your back right and center, it's not from God. Yeah? So I hope you all understand that. So I'm not saying that God can't give you a dream, but I'm saying it cannot be in isolation and everything else going wrong, right? So the wisdom, when you pray, guys, I've seen this a million times. You talk to people and they're about that stage where they're going forward, and I would tell them, listen, pray. Take some time, pray. Ask God to show you. Ask God for wisdom. Ask God and things start happening. Things either start moving really quickly and getting better, even better, or all of a sudden things start popping up, problems, issues, this happening, that happening. That's the sign God is showing you, right? So taking advice from people who are wiser than you is also a very good thing to do. No, we still in the this is just before. I just put a plug in here, right? And looking out for the red flags, right? This is just before. Taking heed to the red flags, right? Real quick, I'm gonna say some things that people overlook that are red flags that you should take heed of, right? If you set boundaries and this person gets angry because of your boundaries, that's a red flag. If your boundaries annoy the person, it's a red flag, right? If they repeatedly violate your boundaries and make light of them, that's a big red flag. If they try to always talk you out of it and try to control you, try to control your behavior, try to belittle you because of the things that you hold dear to you, right? Let's say one of your boundaries, I'm just giving an example. Let's say one of your boundaries is you tell them, on a Wednesday, and this is a wonderful thing to do, right? On a Wednesday, I dedicate my day to God. I'm not gonna call you unless it's an emergency. Let's not see each other. I'm gonna be spending time with God, right? I don't know if this is a good example, but it is a boundary. So let's keep it that way. If he belittles that and makes fun of you, and it's like every day you could spend time with God, so why we can't lie on a Wednesday? I have this and he keep trying to talk you out of it. Or let's say the boundary is a physical boundary, sexual boundary, where you say, listen, I don't feel comfortable when you put your hand wherever, right? Wherever, right? And he keeps trying to push the boundary, and you always have to keep stopping him. Guys, that's a red flag, right? People who ignore, belittle, and try to control your behavior to get you to not have boundaries are dangerous people, in my opinion, right? If you are afraid to communicate openly with them because of how they might react, or you feel that they, again, may belittle what you say or make you feel insignificant for it, that's a red flag, right? If they make you question yourself, your own intuition, if they always have you second guessing who you are and your worth, why you want to be with that person, right? Your marriage ain't gonna be nice. If a man making you feel like that and you're courting, your marriage not gonna be pleasant, ladies, right? If more often than not, when you leave this person's presence, when you all go out on a date or whatever the case, you come back feeling depressed, uncomfortable, worried, irritated, violated, humiliated. Like you always come home and you're in a mood because something happened, he said something, whatever. Yeah, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing, ladies, right? So these are things you need to pay attention to. Also, if you have to repeatedly talk to him about female friends, if you have a boyfriend, somebody that you are seeing, getting close to, or you're just at that stage where you're moving forward, or you're courting, and you have to repeatedly be asking him not to be close to this one and not to be close to that one, and telling him be careful with this one and careful. Now, I'm not, some women are insecure, right? And I don't want to go into the difference. I mean, I've done that many times before, what an insecure woman would look like, and where it's a matter of the man really just not having proper boundaries with females. But if your partner does not have proper boundaries with females when you're courting, newsflash, ladies, that's going to be your marriage. He's not going to change when you say I do. You're going to always have to be telling him about this girl and that girl and don't drop her home and why you're talking to her so late. Why you are the only person on the earth that could help your ex-girlfriend. That's what you want for life? That's really what you want for your life? Nah, he not with it. He not with it, right? And so these are things, this is just before that stage, you're taking all these things into consideration. You're not just going in blind, right? You're thinking, right? Right. So that's number 2, right? So number 2 was the courtship. What you do just before you're going, this is a commitment to be exclusive with this person with the goal to get married, right? And so things gonna change, right? Number 3, courtship, right? Guys, I didn't make this up, right? For the song, right? Courtship involves parents, right? Both parents, if both parents in the picture, whoever's your guardian, you can't be courting and they don't know, right? I don't know if you all remember when we went through the Bible days, how they courted in the Bible days. It was the parents who got your spouse for you, right? It was impossible to be getting married in the Bible days and your parents not be involved, right? Not only your parents, your spiritual leaders. If your boyfriend, if he's making that step towards courtship, ladies, I don't know if this how it happens now, but that guy is supposed to come and state his intentions to your parents, to your father especially, or your mother, whoever is that person that is your, the person that you respect and look up to in your life, right? He's supposed to make his intentions towards you clear to your parents, well, not your whole family, to the people who look after you. And I hear a lot of modern day people, even for my Christians, say, I'm a big man or woman, what my parents need to get involved for. Them life was messed up. Why I need to tell them? Or the man might say, why I need to tell your parents once you okay with it or whatever. I'm telling you that that's an erroneous way of thinking. If we say we are Christians and we want to follow the Bible and the way things were done in the Bible, your parents played a big part in this stage, right? And it is important, especially if you're first, listen, I know all parents are not godly, right? I know that all parents are not godly and not sound in their thinking. They themselves had a horrible marriage, whatever the case may be, but that is still your parent. Well, I'm going there now, right? I'm going there now. That is still your parent, your father, it is still somebody who raised you. Now, remember, I said the person who was your guardian. So let's say you grew up with your grandparents, or you grew up with an aunt, or you grew up with, so whoever was the person responsible for you growing up, whoever was the person who brought you up, who took care of you, right? That person in your life. So I'm saying parents, but I mean your guardians, right? If your parents or your father, if you don't even know where to find your father or he don't want anything to do with you, I'm not saying your intended have to go and find him, find wherever he is before he can marry you to ask him your permission. He might not even know who you are. So I'm talking about the people responsible for you, right? If that happens to be your parents, if you grew up in a home with your mother and father, or with your father, with your mother, right? Out of respect for them, it doesn't matter how they treated you. Out of respect for them, I would want my intended, you should want your attendant to at least come and say, especially ladies, if you are living in their home still. Doesn't matter the relationship you have with them. You living in their home under their roof. They took care of you financially for all those years, right? Yes, it may not have been the best relationship, but they did what they had to do. He would come to your father and say, so Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, I just want to let you know that I love your daughter, blah, blah, blah. I intend to marry her. We're in a relationship and we hoping to get married, whatever, right? Now, not getting your father, if your father or your mother says, I don't want my daughter to marry, right? I am not saying that your intended is to agree with them and say, well, give your father time and hard luck at a ride out, right? Because as somebody pointed out there are some parents who are toxic. There are parents who could be racist or classist. They could not want you to marry your nice, oh my, I can't believe, anyway, yeah, I could see your father doing that, right? Your parents could be, have a perception about life and they want, let's say they want you to have a particular lifestyle and they think that your intended is not rich enough or classy enough or important in society enough to marry their child. And so they object. Doesn't mean that you have to take them on, right? If the person meets the criteria of a good Christian man and he does have a job and he can provide for you, if your parents are racist and they say, no, me want to marry, wherever, right? That's their problem, right? So I'm not saying this to say that if you go to your parents and they say no, that you take them on all the time. There may be instances where your parents are right. And if you have good parents, they would tell you why, and they would have told you before. If they knew you were the person, it wouldn't be a shock that they don't agree, right? But I'm not saying, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that because your parents object, that means you don't get married. But I'm saying the man should have integrity enough to want to go to your guardian or parents or whoever you live with, whoever house he just come and pick you up by for the past 4 years or 3 years or 2 years or whatever, he needs to state his intentions. If you live on your own and your parents not in your life, it should still be a question for him. If you know what I mean. Just out of having good character and integrity, he should say, so where's your dad? I mean, obviously that question, if you live on your own and he met you that way, never saw your parents in your life, I'm sure at some point in the conversation, he would say, where's your dad? Is he a part of your life? Where's your mom? Right? And you would give him the story, why they're not in your life or whatever. But he should still want to make a connection, when it's taking that other step, right, to marry. Your spiritual leaders, if you are in a community, like in our church, it's a community. We like a family, right? It's beneficial for the people. So for the lady who asked, what if your parents toxic? What if they whatever, right? This is why community now is important, because sometimes, yes, your parents, you may not have that relationship with them to even connect with them. You probably haven't spoken to them in a year, which, is a whole other session. But let's say you are in a community and there's a spiritual leader, a church community, there's a spiritual leader. That could be the person that the guy goes to and say, listen, I want to marry, because you're all in the same community and as the leader, I want to marry X, Y. what you think, I want your blessing, whatever the case may be, right? The most ungodly people somehow find a priest, a pastor, a pundit, somebody to bless their marriage. There's a spiritual side of marriage. And so this is why you can't just ignore your spiritual leaders and think that they have their input doesn't matter, or that. But in fact, in the Hindu religion, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, I found out recently that I believe in a lot of cases, when people have when Hindus have a child, sometimes the pundit gives the name. I mean, that's to tell you how people, when it comes to marriage and family, they include the spiritual, right? They go to a church to get married, they go to a mosque, they go to a temple, they include God, because most people want that spirituality and they want to bring up a family that has morals. And so however it looks for you, you include, and so more so as a Christian, as a believer in a community, in a church, I would have to ask the question. It would be a really big red flag for me as to why you'd be hiding a relationship, right? Because we want people to get married, right? So you go, and this is how it was in the Bible as well. In fact, the entire village knew. It wasn't a matter of hiding. So everybody in the village knew that Mary and Joseph were going to get married. So when Mary got pregnant, it was a scandal. Everybody knew, right? And they were like, what the madness going on here? Mary pregnant. And that was like, ooh, right? So your parents, guys, your guardians, or whoever the case may be, they love people who love you in your life, right? Your spiritual leaders, they will be able to see things that you would not be able to see. Courting in a community is much more beneficial than isolating yourself. This is a fact that almost everybody who is married now, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but no, not very often, right? In these cases, most people who are married now, at some point, they either was in love with somebody else or thought they were going to marry somebody else. Or they didn't think they were going to marry the person they ended up getting married. At some point in life, they had a relationship that did not work out. They spent 3 years in a relationship, and people gave them advice. People told them no. People told them, and they ignored the advice, or they did their own thing. They didn't bother asking anybody. They didn't care. You spend time, you spend money, you spend energy on this person or persons. Some people have multiple, and it didn't work out. And so sometimes that could be avoided. But it's harder. It's hard. I know it's hard because your heart, you're entangled with this person and you're in love and you know what you're feeling. And so it's hard to allow somebody to come and say, girl, you gotta be careful with he, so, or boy. But there's safety in our community, guys, and it's more difficult for that person to hide their red flags. Somebody will know him. Somebody will know, well, I hear so. Now, I'm not saying in all cases it's right or to take that advice, but many times it's a good place to be, right? To have community. And the community may not always only be church. It could be, let's say it's somebody in your office that you met, a Christian person in your office, and the person working there much longer than you. And so everybody know the person better than you. That's how you met them at work. They're Christian. Excuse. You come in the company and he there years, and there are people telling you, multiple people, this is an example, right? Multiple people are coming to you. He's everything to you. But multiple people coming to you and saying, here, Nagil, I know you're now working here. You're only working here 2 years, right? But we working together so much years. And they start telling you, not 1 person, 2 person, 3 person. This is me. You would be a fool to ignore all of them. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you have to also believe everything they say, but certainly if more than 1, 2, 3 people come telling me the same thing about my intended, I will ask questions and I will investigate. I'm not going to be a fool to say, well, they're all lying, because I know what I'm experiencing. I know how he makes me feel, and they don't know. And they just don't want me to be happy. Really? Everybody's just watching you and don't want you to be happy? So they come in and line on your boyfriend? Ladies, don't be not smart now. right? So all I'm saying is in a situation like that, where you're in a community and everybody's telling you the same thing about this guy, all I'm saying is take heed, do your own investigations and ask your own questions to him. Probe. Is your life you're talking about? It's the rest of your life on earth you're going to spend with this man, right? So you have to probe and you have to investigate. That's all I'm saying. Do not be naive, right? So community is good. Don't hide. Hiding, hiding is it's not going to be for your benefit. The hiding. And why would you hide? Why would you hide a love that's pure and true? Let the world know, right? So that is number 3, right? Your parents and your guardians, your spiritual leaders, your community. If you're courting somebody and your intention is to get married, there's no need to hide, right? I would hope that if you are in, there's another part here. I would hope that if you are in a community, you don't have to trust everybody that you work with, but I'm sure you form friendships and you may trust 1 or 2 of the managers, 1 person in HR, whoever the people you're close to. So nothing is wrong with taking their advice if you know that they have your best interest at heart. I would hope that if you're in a church community, you trust at least some of the people in the community. If not, I would advise you find another community, especially if you don't trust the leaders. It's not making any sense. Why would I be in a church where I do not trust the leaders? I do not know, right? So my advice to you, if you don't trust them, you need to find somewhere that you trust the leaders, right? Still in the same line of courting, introduce your partners to your family and friends early in your courting stage, right? I know people have this thinking, I don't know what it is. I'm not too sure why. Maybe this is an opportunity, guys, for you all to educate me, right? Why do people hide if they're in a serious relationship? Like, why wait until they say, you know what? I understand if somebody pregnant and they're waiting for the first trimester or they're waiting for everything to be good and safe before they tell people, right? I understand that. If you don't want to jump the gun or let's say, right? No problem. People keep that secret. But if I'm in love, I found somebody that I think I'm gonna get married to, everybody, want to be happy for me. What are you hiding for? Why you're not introducing them to your family? How come your family don't know? I just asking, right? How you could be with somebody for 3 years and your family don't know this person? Cheyenne, you not understanding was the topic we're talking about here. This is somebody you are courting. I'm not talking about dating. I'm not talking about somebody you now start to see and go out. This is the person that you saying you're intending to marry. I'm talking about at that stage. You are courting. Remember, that's where we are. We're not talking about a casual thing, right? Somebody said something about jealous. People could be jealous of you because you have on a nice shirt when you come to work. People could want to kill you because you're driving a nice car. A bit embarrassing when things don't work out right. So guys, I am not talking about, this is when you date multiple people and you ain't sure, or you've had casual flings and I'm talking about how long you're going to hide it, that you think you found the one. And this is right, you're in a community, people seeing, people suspecting, why you hiding a lion, right? No, we're not together. No, you friends move like we together, right? So, and again, I'm talking about you in a serious relationship, right? There's no need to hide. Try not to defensive. Right. And try not to get too defensive, defensive when people give you advice. So like when the people come to you in work and they give you advice, 2, 3 of them, don't get defensive. Be objective and listen. Go home, think it over, and do your investigation, right? But we're not hiding. We're not hiding. This is the one we're talking about that you think is the one, right? Number 4. These next couple ones, we kind of deal with boundaries, right? Which are very important in any relationship. But these that I'm going to state here, it works for a Christian and non-Christian. but it's kind of unique to the Christian, right? Because I've seen this happen a lot, right? Even though you're courting this person, and okay, I'm in a relationship with this person, we intended to get married, you need to regulate the time you spend together. And I do not suggest that you spend your every waking moment talking and being with this person. That is not healthy. It is very easy for that person to become the center of your world, to become your everything. You all know what I mean. It's very easy for that person to become like your crutch, like the thing that you need to have a good day. Like if I don't talk to him, if I don't see him, if I don't hear his voice, I don't function as like I have to, and you start making that person your world, and you start centering everything you do and who you are around this person. That is unhealthy, even if that's the person that you're going to be married to. Even your husband is not supposed to be that to you. And so more so as a Christian couple, you all need to regulate your time. Do not allow them to dethrone God in your life. I have seen that happen. I felt like that in my first relationship, that this person came and replaced my passion and desire for God, because all of my passion and desire was for them, right? And all my time, even my thoughts, everything I wanted to spend every waking moment, because, right? And after a while, that felt sick to me. And when I realized that I had sort of drifted away from God, not that he drifted away from me, that I drifted away from God, because it was like another person had my heart at this point, right? It's like I wasn't even sharing it with God. I started to feel really sick about it, and I wanted it to, I couldn't continue that way, right? So do not allow it. This is important, guys, right? Because this affects your marriage later on, and it affects your how you and your husband relate as well. Don't let that person become the center of your life. Do not allow them to dethrone God in your heart. Allow your emotions to grow into the relationship. I'm saying, do not throw or give yourself entirely to this person emotionally, and your time, your thoughts. Don't do it, right? Pushing the pace, hear this, right, ladies? Pushing and pushing for this time and constant texting, okay, I just drop you off home. Now, I know there's a stage for that. There's a stage for this, right? This kind of infatuation in the beginning. It shouldn't be, but I could see where it would happen when you're now getting to know somebody. Woo! You can't help it. It's like, your heart racing, and they just drop you off and you're all on the phone, right? Even though you just saw them and you're just linemen, and right? You can't continue that. That cannot go on forever, right? That stops after a while. That's like the honeymoon phase of a relationship. That ends. It slows down, and then eventually you just cannot physically, it takes a toll on you to continue in a romantic relationship that way. And it is not healthy. It ends up being toxic, right? And so you have this desire to always be with them, and this sort of, I don't want to use the word obsessive, but it's like the feeling that they give you being with them, and that kind of emotional high that you get, you want it all the time. Unhealthy. It's actually not good. You might say that, well, I thought that was a good thing, that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have those feelings for the person though, but it's not supposed to be something that consumes you, right? So hear this, right, ladies, pay attention to this. Pushing the pace causes areas of the other person's character to not be observed properly. So what that means is, when you remain in that sort of airy-fairy, always want to be up in each other's face, talking, romance, everything is, that just a constant pace to be together and talk, and it does not give you a time or opportunity to rock back and really observe the character of the person. If you don't enjoy your time apart from the person, like, okay, when you are away from the person, all you feel to do is go back with them, that is also unhealthy, right? Can a couple enjoy their alone time as well as together time? Often, this often means that a healthy boundary needs to take place. If you don't feel satisfied when you're not in that person's presence, like your thoughts are always to be with them. Now, you might say, well, that's what love is, right? Not if it's consuming you. That's not love, or it's a toxic kind of love. If you cannot be by yourself and be content, enjoy being alone without thinking about that person. Because if that's how you are, it's going to be difficult for you to even spend time with God, because your mind and your heart is so consumed and you are so obsessed with this person, this love that you feel for this person. That could never be healthy, right? And I'll tell you how that looks. If it's not healthy if it's two-sided. If the other person is like that, that's even more toxic. Guys, let me tell you in my experience what I've seen that turn into, right? I have seen that in marriage. What that turns into is a codependent couple who need to live off of each other to feel satisfied. And so if I don't get something, some emotional need met by my husband, I am in a mess. And there's nowhere else for me to go to find that thing that I'm looking for, not even God. Because he has replaced God in my emotions, in my heart, in my life. So I cannot feel satisfied and content outside of having that person's love. And it becomes toxic in a marriage. Because here what has happened. Here what has happened, guys. Life. It has happened. And so you are not always going to, you and your husband are not always going to feel that way towards each other. There are actually going to be times where you don't even want to see that, right? You're going to feel angry. They're going to do something to hurt you, right? They're going to upset you. And if you are so emotionally tied to this person and you are so codependent that in those times you are going to be miserable, right? You're going to be like a fish out of water. You're going to be an emotional wreck. You're going to start making statements like, you don't love me. If your husband having a bad day or they're having a bad week or whatever, he could be going through something and he starts ignoring you. He's not treating you the way he used to before. Or let's say he had a bad week and it's not, you're feeling like, why he maybe he a little distance. Maybe it's because of a physical issue. He having problems at work, and so he feeling frustrated, and so he's not the same. And so because he's not feeling the same emotionally, he can't really be all that you want him to be in this moment. If he is everything to you and you need to get that constant attention and affirmation from him and you're not getting it, your life is going to be a wreck. You're going to start accusing him. Here, what you're going to go to, it happens all the time. You're going to start saying, how come, why you treating me like this? How come you're not rubbing my foot this week? How come you're not calling me? Why you calling me by my first name? Why you know? He just having issues, right? Whatever his issues are. Now, granted, if your husband having issues or you having issues, it should be communicated. But newsflash, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you don't feel to talk about it. Sometimes it might be something you're embarrassed about. Your boss might have cussed you up and tell you, if you don't buck up, you're going to lose your job. It's hard to come home and tell your wife that. And so the man is mentally stressed. And all you could think about is what I'm not getting from him. And you're in a mess emotionally because your God is not serving you anymore. And your idol is no longer, giving you that satisfaction that you used to get. So hear what, ladies. When you are courting, so going back to number 4, right? You need to regulate the time that you are spending with the person, right? Take my stupid advice. But what I'm beginning to realize, though, that life is so different now to in my times, that people are actually so busy. People have like 10 side hustles. They have a job and 10 side hustles that they actually can't spend all their time with their significant other. Because like when I talk to couples now, it's different to like in my time. Everybody doing so much that they don't even have time for their own self, far less to spend time with a boyfriend, right? And that's not a good thing either. right? That can be bad as well. But y'all know what I'm talking about, right? It's the feeling of always wanting to be with this person that you think that I'm gonna feel fulfilled, and this is how I feel loved. The more time I spend, the more nice things they tell me and do for me. This is how I feel loved. Toxic. It's going to end up being toxic, ladies. So you need to pace yourselves, enjoy having time alone. I would suggest that you set boundaries, and in a as much as you'd want to see that person every day, don't, even though you can say, here, what's going on Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm unavailable to go anywhere, I have to do XYZ. Make sure that you have a life outside of him, guys. Make sure you have a life outside of that man, because when you get it, even though it seems like everything is perfect now, it's not going to be perfect forever. And when you get married, even though, yes, you're now living in a house together and you think, well, jackpot, he with me all the time, are rich, right? So only in fairy tales, not even Disney doing that again. Disney even real now, right? So you need to make sure that you are secure in who you are in Christ, and that he's the one that could fulfill every longing, every desire, and that when your husband falls short, it's not going to wreck your life. You're not going to be an emotional wreck because you're not getting something from him, because you know you could get everything you need from God. And that's not a imaginary place that you could be as a believer. If you've never felt that way about God, then you need to have an encounter with him, because I'm telling you, it's possible to be so consumed by him that you don't even notice you're not getting something from somewhere else, right? And so, ladies, that's a place you need to find yourself even in courting. You need to pace yourself, right? So that is a boundary. Make sure time that you set boundaries where your time is concerned. And ladies, if he does not respect that and he's belittling it, as I said, you need to look at that seriously. If you say to him, no, I do not want to spend 7 days a week with you, I have to take, it could be something like actually, I was talking to a young lady recently, and she was telling me that she had a issue in her family, that her family needed her time more, right? It was a serious issue. So she had to be at home helping out more than normal. So after work, she didn't have as much time to line, right? And her boyfriend had a really big problem with that and started feeling like if, like, what happened? They more saying things like they more important than me. And she was like, what are you telling me? What kind of stupid question is that? It's not that my family more important. You know that something has changed. So it's not a situation of the person is prioritizing them all the time. Something changed, and he knows the something that changed. And he knows that they require her time, and he's still complaining about not having time with her. I know there's some ladies that look at that as, oh my gosh, he does me so much. No, he could turn out to be a controlling, abusive man if he does not understand that your family needs you for a time and that he needs to chill a little bit. That's a red flag. And they were actually about to get married. They were actually going into the phase. Actually, he bought a ring and stuff for her already, right? Red flag, right? And so, but for some ladies, that might be, oh gosh, no, it's just that he real love, man. I know he just want to spend time with me. No, right? So regulate your time, ladies, right? It's a serious thing. Number 5, make it easy for yourself to stay sexually pure. Now, I hope that you plan to stay sexually pure as a Christian couple, because it is clear that the Bible states that sex is for a married couple and not for couples who are not married, right? So it doesn't matter if you engage, if you're courting, that doesn't give you all the right to have sex with each other. That is something that you only reserve for the covenant of marriage, right? And so I'm thinking, hoping that's a given, right? What you want to do, though, is not put yourself in positions where you could slip up in this area. And so you can't leave those things unsaid. And so that's a conversation you and your intended, you have to have, right? where you're going to go, where you're not going to go, where you're touching me, where you're not touching me. When you touch me here, right? Listen, for you, it could be your ears. Okay? Anytime he touch your ears and he do so, say, hi, baby. You ready to give up. You ready to say, take me, right? I just use it as an example because your ear is not seductive, right? So I'm trying to make it. So you play with your ears and you're ready to find a bed, basically, right? If that's the case for you, tell him, don't touch my ears. You're not going to tempt fate, in other words. So if both of you all are truly desirous of keeping yourselves pure and you know that touching your ears gets you in a particular mood, that's a boundary. Do not ever touch my ears. Don't touch my ears. Don't blow in them. Don't even look at them, right? If he does not respect you and he keeps pushing that boundary back, he keeps taunting you, he keeps saying, come in close and move back, play the fool with your ears. Right now, I'm using ears, but right? Guys, you're going to have to look at that as a red flag and reconsider. And I'm being very serious, right? It's not, I know what you're going to, some naive woman, take that as a compliment, as I'm irresistible. No, what that is that he does not respect me and he does not respect my boundaries. It's not that you are irresistible, okay? Or even if you are irresistible to him, he respects you more than wanting to be with you sexually, and so he would not touch your ears. And so whatever you all need to do, and he realizes that it's a struggle for him, and he wants to do the right thing as well. So whatever you all do, you make sure you're not in a place where he gets the opportunity to touch your ears, right? I use the ears like a clown, but all you get it just right. So it's something you're not doing, you're not living together. You're not living. It don't matter if you had a hurricane, what was the name of the hurricane? Beryl. It don't matter if Beryl came and mashed down your house and he tell you, it's okay, darling, come and live by me. No, don't do it, right? So you're not living with him under any circumstances. You're not sleeping over either. What you sleeping over for? The day will come and all you're going to be sleeping together. Listen, the day will come where you don't want to sleep with him. The day will come. You will get married and you will end up sleeping in the next room, right? First, you're going to have time to sleep together when you're married for 30 years, right? Oh God, you don't have to sleep over when all your dating, courting. Don't put yourself in a situation to be tempted, to be overstimulated. And you too come outside, let me say you're sleeping over, right? You don't come outside in your 19, don't sleep over. In fact, I'm not having this conversation because you're not sleeping over, right? Don't go on holidays alone either. You're tempting fate. No, listen, guys. Right. I went away with my husband, so I'll be transparent, before we were married, right? But we were not, if he wants to engage in said holiday. I went away with Kerwin before we were married, but we did not go alone. It was 4 of us or 5 of us. And it was not, I know people do it and they do a couples thing. It was a business trip. It was a business trip. He went to buy things for his business and I went. So it was business partners and it was work, right? And we didn't stay in a hotel. We stayed by a family of one of the people who went by us, and everybody had their own room or whatever the case may be, right? But I'm talking about going to Tobago together, you and him alone, right? All I'm saying, ladies, I know some what you're thinking right away, but I'm an adult. I have control. I have self-control. Now, correct me. You can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. Going away on a romantic holiday with your boyfriend that you're not trying to have sex with, isn't there not going to be greater temptation when you all are away in a romantic setting and have the opportunity to be together 24/7 in a hotel room? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not greater temptation? Correct. It's greater temptation. I just want to make sure it's not like me getting old and not understanding. You understand? Like, people get old and yeah, they say, well, she don't know what she's saying. I can handle my stories. Maybe that was she, right? But I know flesh is flesh. I know how the flesh is work, and I know how it's worked better than you. Because I'm older than all of you on the call, I'm sure, right? And so all I am saying is that there's certain places you don't go with. If you want to be sexually pure, and let me define sexually pure. Sexually pure is not just not saying we did not have intercourse. I'm talking about remaining sexually pure. Going to get a little transparent here. He not feeling up my breasts. His hand not going inside my clothes. He will not know what my breasts feel like until we are married. He's not feeling up my bottom. His hand is not going under any part of my clothes, right? I will not know what he had for dinner when we kiss. No part of my neck gonna be red, right? I'm not going to be wearing turtleneck for the next week, right? That is what being sexually pure is. Not some more ladies say, I made it, I didn't have sex, but you literally did everything else. What do you all think God is? What do you think God is? Like, remember, God is not like us. We tend to be hypocrites, right? We do everything and say, well, yeah, I know intercourse, I did good. God not watching you and clapping and saying, well done. You didn't, you did everything else. Well done. Right? So when the Bible talks about fleeing sexual immorality, it's not only talking about committing the act of fornication. And so if you want to keep yourself pure, ladies, and he wants the same thing, then these are the things I spoke about just now that you just cannot do. You just can't do. There's going to be a time for you actually going to have years of that, right? So make sure that you can be accountable as well to somebody or somebodies, right? I spoke about dating and courting and isolation already, right? But you want to be accountable. If you find that things getting a little more difficult, it's becoming more challenging for you all to keep your hands off of each other, make sure you have somebody that you could talk to, who could give you advice, who could perhaps pray with you, talk with you. But don't keep it a secret and be struggling and you're failing all the time, right? Stay focused on God and make sure that you let him into even that area where you talk to God about, say, God, this is not what I want for myself, right? Even let's say you slip up, but you say, God, I do not want this for myself. I want to remain pure. I don't want to do anything that defiles this temple, right? I know this is your temple. I know you live in this body. And so these are things that you're going to have to be intentional about. It can't just be along the way. Oops, we slip up. Now let's put boundaries in place. You want to have boundaries in place before, right? So that's number 4. Number 5. Number 6, ladies, and this is, you might disagree, but I don't know how you could disagree, right? If you, I feel like if I'm saying things that women should know, but it's either they know and they don't care or they don't know, so I'll say it, right? The way that you dress, ladies, can affect your boyfriend, your intended husband. How you dress and present yourself can make what we just spoke about in number 5 very, very difficult. The man is already attracted to you. That's one of the reasons he wants to marry you. So when he looks at you, there's an attraction. He likes what he sees, you look good. When you all go on a date, why would you go on a date with him if you all are trying to keep yourselves pure with a skirt that is where when you sit, everybody, I could see your underwear. If you're sitting in front of him, he could see your underwear. Why would you wear a top that if you just go, ha, 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 he's seen everything? Or if you move, everything moving with you. Or your pants so tight that nothing is left to the imagination. Why would you tempt him? Why would you put him in that position to have to fight you off because of how you are dressed? Try not to look, because ladies, I don't know if I'll be educating you all. I rather doubt it because of the time that we live in. I know I'm not educating you. Men can be stimulated and physically affected by just looking at a woman, right? You all know what I mean. He does not have to touch you, talk to you, or anything. He could just look at you. Especially now, if a man is just looking at every woman who might be looking seductive, and right, this Celeste, I don't know if she said it today, but she always says that this call is for women 18 years and over. And if you are under 18, you should get the permission of your parents, right? If a man is walking around getting an erection by watching every sexy looking woman he sees, he has a spirit of lust, right? It's not normal. Don't let them tell you that. What is more normal is if he looks at you that he's in love with and attracted to, very much attracted to, knows that someday you're going to be his wife, that he could perhaps look at you and feel that way, that something is coming on. And let me sit down or let me stand up. I don't know what it's how to do, right? Big people talking ends and a little chair in here. So ladies, ask me a question. You ask me. Why? No, not ask me. Sorry. Answer me this question. Why would you dress in a way to put your man through that? He's a hater. That's what really going on. Not asking, asking what, why? If you are now, I know everybody. People say they want to be pure, but they're not serious. So I'm talking about the ladies who are serious about purity and keeping themselves and protecting the temple and protecting the fact that this is God's body and that you're married to him as well. I'm talking to those women, right? Why put your man in that type of position? And so I said all that to say that one of the boundaries that one of the ways, as simple as it is, ladies, I'm gonna tell you something, yeah. As simple as this sounds, and you might say, how you use that as a gauge? A man who is concerned about how you look physically and does not want you to dress seductively, even though for his ego, he might think, whoa, my girl looking red hot. She looking red hot. She looking good. I know every man gonna be staring at her when we go out. I cannot see a man who loves you, a man of God who loves you and wants the best for you, being okay with you going out and knowing that men are going to look at you and lust. I cannot, ladies, you all are going to have to help me with this, but I know that there are men who just don't care about how their girlfriends dress, or their wives for that matter. They don't care if all their breasts outside. Sorry, they don't care if all their breasts outside, because that's your breast. Your breast is his breast, and your breast is your breast. They don't care if everybody's seeing what you, ladies, I'm sorry if I'm going to sound a bit crude, right? But I know you have some men who don't care if everybody's seeing what you play with in the night. I don't know how that's work, right? Forgive me, right? Ladies, forgive me. But I'm just I so don't understand this that I'm trying to help you to understand it, right? So it confuses me. Celeste normally says it. I don't know if she did tonight. If you're under 18 and this bothering you, well, I will tell you, right? I don't know how that happens, ladies. I'm being honest with you. One of the things that really attracted me to my husband is that he was the first man, right? He was the first man any man, to ever tell me about how I was dressed, that it may have been inappropriate and it might have been affecting him, right? Or others. I was shocked. I didn't take him on. I was like, what the hell are you telling me? I was like, what were you doing? Right? Actually, the first time he tells this story, the first time we met after our initial introduction by my father was me walking down Frederick Street, and I had on one of those tops. It was style in those days that hung down on your arm and your bra strap showing, right? It was Cyndi Lauper, Madonna days, right? Fishnet kind of thing. And he was like, you might want to pull up your top. And I just laugh and I pull it up. I did pull it up and I just laugh, right? But we weren't friends or anything. It was a stranger. Second time I meeting him, right? when we did become friends and he used to tell me about it, I used to be like, boy, I'd be like, no, he is not my father. That used to be my response, but I was rebellious, right? I didn't care about those things at that time, right? So he was the first person I used to be like, honestly, it was very alien to me that a man would be concerned about, me dressing seductive. And so it was impressive to me, even though I didn't take him on, I took a mental note of it. And the reasons he would tell me to, it made sense to me, but because I was rebellious, I used to pretend I didn't understand, but it made sense to me, right? And so that became the norm to me, and I understood him and why he would say what he would say. But now that I am, from the time I started getting in that place now of wisdom and understanding, and I would see sometimes even people who are mature and grown and elderly and in high positions, and I would see how their wives look with them sometimes. Honestly, it confuses me. It's really an area that confuses me. But what I have come to realize, ladies, is that you, not me, you don't value those parts of your bodies and you don't value yourself. Because if you saw your private parts as private and something to be, your body as something to be valued, if you really did see your body as God's temple and also understood the effect that seduction and could have on a man when you look seductive, I believe you'd move differently. If I talk too much more about this, I'll have to. So, right? So that's number 6. We want to have a boundary for you ladies and the men too. He might have a pants that he's wearing that affects you, or a shirt that might be too tight. Whatever the boundary is, you want to keep it because you want to stay pure, right? Number 7, make sure you are clear. What's the time? Right. Number 7, make sure you are clear on life's decisions, on the big life decisions like finances, how you all are going to discipline a child. In that stage, in that courting stage, these things need to be discussed, in some cases at length. And if needs be, you could even include like a counselor or whatever, if you realize we come into a lockhead on certain things, right? So again, I'm not saying if you all disagree on these areas, it means you can't move forward. But I'm saying don't wait to get married to discover that this is an area that we're not compatible in and it could cause problems. Finances is a big one in that. Is it my money, your money? How are we working things out? Who's going to take care of the finances? What would be our financial goals in this marriage? All these things how are we going to save? What will saving look like? Are we going to be, as our children are born? You might have grow up in a home where your parents started saving for your college fund from the time you say, wow, out of the womb. But your husband had to scrape for every cent he gets, and he didn't know anything about that. And so it's just not something that he even think about, right? Because he live in day-to-day kind of thing. So you all need to discuss that. You need to say, well, I want to have something for my child from the time they're born. I want to start saving for them, for their college, for their whatever, for their life, so they can have something to put on a house. These are things that people take for granted that end up being big issues later on. So I'm saying you have these talks, right? Have these talks. Here this one, ladies. This is in the same line, number 7. I have 10 more minutes because I want to finish at 9:30. Number 7. If you have a big debt, or he has a big debt that is impossible, it's not going to be cleared off before you all get married, you need to disclose that to him. He needs to know about that, and vice versa. Because that debt is going to now become, it's not going to be your debt anymore. It's also going to be him. You're bringing that into the marriage, right? And so if you owe some bank somewhere, or Island Finance, or something, $200,000, and he don't know, you need to tell him. And if he have some debt, if he owing some loan shark, he'll owing a loan shark and you don't know. And one night all you're sleeping, all you're married, 6 months in, all you're sleeping, hugging up, enjoying the air conditioned cuddly, and you hear bang, bang, bang on your front door. And when you go on, there's a loan shark. And he said, oh gosh, I'll never tell you. Yeah, well, I say island finance. You know why I say island finance, right? I forget to tell you, I was in a real financial situation 2 years before we meet, and I borrow money from a loan shark. Ask questions, ladies. Ask questions. You have to have a sit down sometime before you get married. So don't be wasting your courtship just going around holding hands and going and eating dinner and talking stupidness now. You need to prepare for marriage, right? So sometime you're going to need to sit down with pen and paper and start to write out if you have debts, finance. These are serious things that you'll need to deal with, right? Make sure that's number 7. This is a nice time to start thinking about expectations and being real with them so that you don't get married with unrealistic expectations, right? Listen, that happens to almost every couple. Every couple that I counsel, Kerwin is buff me up for it, but I do not care. Every female that I counsel get that before they get married, like premarital counseling, especially virgins, I tell them all, do not go into that honeymoon with unrealistic expectations. And I try as much as possible to explain to them what I try to explain to them what to expect without explaining too much, right? Because more often than you would like to believe, many people, especially women who get married virgins, or let's say they may have been sexually active when they were in the world and they kept themselves for 5, 6 years, or whatever, and they get married 10 years, they go into the honeymoon with unrealistic expectations. I think almost every young lady that I spoke to and told them came back and said, thank you for telling me, right? So I'll just say that, right? So you're not getting married with unrealistic, but here what happens when you get married with unrealistic expectations. It's like a shock happens to you when you get married. It's like you sit down and you're like, you start saying, this is not what I expected. And I hear many newlyweds say, this is not what I expected. I'm done with the honeymoon. I mean, just in general, right? Let me give you some real quick things because I do want to finish like soon. Some really quick things that people get married with being unrealistic, right? You expect to feel, I'm going to answer your questions, right? Right, guys? After. Right. You expect that your partner is going to always look the same way, that there's always going to be that same level of attraction physically. I'm talking physically, because you can be attracted to somebody that's not just physical, right? Many people go into thinking that, yeah, what I see now is what I was seeing 40 years. No. You expect to have a certain amount of sex on a regular basis. That often is also unrealistic, right? You expect your partner to go 50-50 with you with chores. This is a real common one. I think I hear every single woman who's getting married say that their expectation was that it was going to be a 50-50 thing. So we get up on a Saturday morning, you clean your living room, he clean the bathroom. He mow the lawn. He mow the lawn while I mop the floor. So it's a 50-50. We work in, right? No, it would never be 50-50 in everything, right? I use cleaning as an example, but it's not. That's an unrealistic expectation, I'm telling you from now. Or because there are times in your life, where you cannot give the 50. So let me say you give it 100, I give it 100, 50-50, right? Physically, right? Let's say you are somebody who, when you have your cycle, it's bad. You can't function for 3 days, right? Your husband cannot expect the same level of whatever it is you give him, whether you cook or clean or whatever. He can't expect that from you at that time. And the same thing for him. It could just be mentally, don't want to be physically. I could just be feeling kind of depressed or down today and I don't want to do nothing or whatever. Or I could have absolutely no reason at all. But you cannot always expect somebody to, you know, this meet me halfway thing is a myth. It does not happen all the time. I'm saying it is, I'm not saying it shouldn't be, it's ideal, but I'm saying in all situations and circumstances, and when life starts happening, it just doesn't work that way all the time. So to think it's going to be like that all the time is very unrealistic, right? Well, we spoke about finances. To expect your partner when you get married, some silly women think that this is how it's going to be. And I guess some men too, that you expect your partner to spend all their free time with you. That anytime you get free time, what should be your priority is me. That kind of goes back into what we spoke about earlier on. I think it was number 2, where you prioritize your time and your emotions and all those things, right? No, all my free time does not have to be you. I could have a hobby outside of being your wife. I could, when my free time, I want to go and play tennis, or I just want to go shopping, or I want to go to the beach with my friends. So it's unrealistic to think that every time we get free, it had to be me, right? No, that's unrealistic. Okay, ladies. Expect an apology all the time, unrealistic. Disney fairy tale. Expect them to have, this is one that is tricky, but this has to be regulated. You cannot expect or try to make your husband not have any friends at all of the opposite sex. Now, I don't agree with a spouse having a friend of the opposite sex, as a best friend or a riding partner or somebody. So you have a male friend, your husband lying down next to you on the bed, and you chatting with your male host, your bestie host. I don't agree with that, right? But to say that you don't want them to have any kind of female acquaintance. So let's say you're in a community, you're in a church community, and your husband, before you all were friends, he had a good friend, whatever, and they talk now and again. Again, I'm not talking about friends and all you're going out. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about a woman who might say, nah, I don't want you talking to no females. If it's hi, hello, no problem, but no long talk. You're being unrealistic. The man going to have to work. And hear what that does to the men, ladies. When you tell a man something like that, you know what he does? He don't drop the girls, the friends, Now, oh gosh, let me make sure I understand what I'm saying, right? I'm not talking about having a best friend as a female, or I'm not saying you're going out with this person. I'm just saying it's a friend. It's a friend you had, let's say, a friend you had for your whole life, and now you get married. Your wife should not expect you to drop that person like a hot potato. However, the dynamics of the friendship is going to have to change, right? But what men start doing though, when women put those kind of demands on them, is they start lying. And then you're just going down because it's unrealistic. So if they have a conversation at work with a female, let's say the girl asks a question or whatever, they want to tell you, but they're frightened because you have this thing about them talking to females. This unrealistic expectation. A man living in a world with millions of other females, and you don't want him to be able to talk to any for more than 5 minutes. That's unrealistic. That's all I'm saying, right? And so make sure you have your expectations right, ladies, based on the man that you're with. Everybody's expectations will be different. Just make sure they're not unrealistic, please, because you're going to get married and get shocked. Number 9, seek counseling before it's 3 weeks before your wedding. Don't wait 3 weeks before your wedding to say we're doing premarital counseling. I suggest that as soon as you all start courting, as soon as it becomes exclusive and you're working towards marriage and you're saying this could be a potential spouse, that you all could do counseling together or individually. Don't wait for 3 weeks before the wedding, because hear what? In counseling, there are things that come up that you will not think of on your own, that you did not anticipate, and it could help you to think. I actually believe that in counseling, if it's done properly, this is something my husband always says, if counseling is really done properly, that not every couple that comes for premarital counseling should get married. But people just come and do counseling as just a form, a ritual. It's what you're supposed to do because again, marrying the people church. So let them talk to us for 2-3 days, right? They don't really take in what is being said, or they don't plan to take action, or if something comes up that's a red flag, they have no intentions of doing anything about it. But when you start counseling earlier, it puts you at a very good advantage, right? To make decisions before you get married. And the last one, yeah, do part for time. The last one, while I'm not one to advise people to rush to get married, I think if you are in this courting phase, there should be a sort of timeline that things should not be going on indefinitely. Because if I'm saying that, remember my number one thing was that if you're starting to court somebody, it's because you're ready to get married. You have things in place, the basic things in place to get married. And so I would expect a very long courtship if you start dating or if you start courting somebody at 18. Excuse me. If you start in a serious relationship at 18, I expect a long courtship. And so my advice is don't even bother to start. Don't even bother to, as I said last week, right? So you're the two adults who, okay, looks like we could do this. I have things in order. We have not everything in order, right? You know what I mean, right? Basic stuff. Don't prolong it. Don't make it a 3-year, 4-year engagement or indefinitely. Let's say, like I told you last week, one of the reasons why my husband and I didn't get married sooner is because I know he wanted his mom to be in a secure place before he left her, because where she was living while we were courting, she was not happy there at all, right? And she was trying to sell the property to move from there. I don't want to get into why, and so he didn't want to get married and leave her there. So if you have a timeline, you're working towards something, there should be something stated. And so I knew that as soon as his mom got there, sold and moved to the more secure location, that we were going to get married. And literally we did 6 months after, right? So if there's something like that, there needs to be a timeline, there needs to be a discussion. But this just going on indefinitely, 1 year pass, okay, 2 year pass, all right, 3 year pass, okay, 4 years, and no talk, it's like, and then you get engaged and it's our next year, and our next year is like, I don't think that is advisable. I don't think that it's almost like being stuck in a dating relationship, like you're just going around in cycles. It's like, what exactly you're waiting for? And so when you're at this stage of courting, as it begins, you'll need to start, well, not right away, but at some point you start talking timeline, right? Don't let it just be an unspoken thing where just time passing and we just, hey, 4 years passed, whoa, 5 years, it's 5 years, boy, right? No, right? So that is it. That was my last one, number 10. I am sure there's more, but if I look to go into every single thing, that's going to take us 5 sessions. So I just did like a basic list and the things that I believe will help you all the most. So Celeste, I don't think I got to see any comments or questions. So if you could do the needful, just read some of the comments and questions, and then you could also unmute your mic, sir, and you could say what you want to ask or make your comment or statement or whatever the case may be, right?
Okay, somebody asked a good question. What if you have sex with your husband before you marry him? Is that a bad thing, asking for a friend?
It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. I've almost never seen that turn out good. I spoke about that last week. I don't know if you all remember. Those of you who were here last week, I spoke a little bit about that. It's a red flag on both your parts. This is what that says, right? This is, yes, I do, right? This is what that says. This is to the person who asked about premarital counsel for singles, right? It says that you are not able to be faithful to God. It says that you are not, I know you're thinking, well, we get married, so it's not so bad. It shows a couple that can have sex while they're dating, there's a higher percentage. This is a fact. I'll share a video perhaps tomorrow from a divorce lawyer who says this, right? That couples who have premarital sex, there's a higher chance of them being unfaithful when married. It shows a lack of self-control for one, sorry, and also that you are willing, because remember, we're talking about a Christian couple. I am not going to ask any couple in the world who doesn't have a relationship with God, doesn't follow the Bible, to try to not have sex with each other. Although I do know couples that are not necessarily followers of the Bible or whatever, but they still want to keep themselves from marriage because their parents brought them up that way, and that's a great thing, right? But if you are a Christian couple and you get yourself in that situation, but you get married, I know I said this last week too, people think, well, we get married, so it cancel off the fact that we did it before. It's a red flag still. I'm not saying your marriage isn't going to work, but you make sure that there's true repentance and there's proper self-examination as to how and why you were able to get to that place. And make sure that however you got there, the root of it has been dealt with and there's true repentance. And true repentance means, let's say you slipped up once. All right, this is an example of where I would feel more comfortable as a leader counseling somebody in that position. You in a relationship with somebody, in your first year dating, you had sex, right? You're courting, 6 months into the courtship, you had sex. Number one, this is how I know it's true repentance. Number one, right? For you to get there, it should be humbling to you. What most people do when they get there is hide. They don't tell anybody they had sex. But they say they repent and they try, but they try on their own. The fact that you got there means that you need help and there should be accountability. So the first good sign for me is that you tell somebody, not your friend who go and say, oh gosh, girl, why you do that? Oh gosh, you repent? Well, God will forgive you. Not that friend. I'm talking about if you're in a church, the pastors, or a leader that you trust, a leader, one of the leaders in the church, ministers in the church that you trust. You accountable, right? We've been courting, you all know that, we had sex. We don't want to ever do it again. I feel, I can't believe I did this. I repented. I want you to hold me accountable. Both of you all come together and you talk to the person. So there's accountability and there's true repentance. So that would be a good sign to me. Also, this is 6 months in, right? Let's say you'll continue now dating for another 2 years or 3 years and you never have sex again. You were able to keep yourself for the 3 years after or 2 years or however much long. That would be a good sign for me as well, that there was true repentance. Because what repentance really is a change of heart and mind. And it means that whatever caused that, not whatever, the lust that caused you all to have sex in the first place was dealt with. And you're able to go on, right? I think I said this last week too, that if a couple does come to me though and say that they had sex, I would advise them to break up and then deal with themselves, right? Because if you did it once, hear what, you could do it twice. And if I sense that it isn't genuine repentance, there's a chance it could happen again, right? So to answer your question, I mean, I went into a lot of detail because I want you to be clear. It's not a good thing. It's really not a good thing. But it could still work out if there is true repentance. Certainly it can. Next question, Celeste.
Okay. Lisa, I just read in the last comment Lisa sent. It is undesirable because it means you do not respect God's boundaries. If you marry that man, there is no guarantee he will respect God's boundaries that says you should not go having sex with someone else outside of your marriage.